12th. Wow, man, it's flying. Rob Brown, Memphis. Brendan Martin, Ocala, Florida. The cold spell has snapped a little bit. It was 45 this morning.
It was not. It was cold this morning in Florida.
Yeah,
There's frost on the grass.
Yeah, well, it's windy. It's going to be about 70 and sunny up here today. We're going back into the mid and upper 70s later in the week. But, I mean, that's the fall in the Mid-South, in the South. Rob Brown and Brendan Martin.
I'm wearing my fluffy sweater. So,
yeah.
That doesn't tell you right there.
Ain't nothing better than fleece or merino wool on you, man. We got a great one today. Chris Lee, Southeastern 16, checks in from Nashville. Man, he covers them. Vanderbilt and all 16 teams in the conference like very few people. Like kudzu and cotton, that's what I'll say. Heath Cline, the producer and co-host of the Chuck Oliver Show over in Atlanta, joins us as well. Dudley Dawson, Inside Arkansas, and Vince Ferrara, the sports animal in Knoxville. As always, take your phone, take a picture of the QR codes, and the website is sidelines.live if you want to watch us there, and share this and like us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We are so blessed to have such a growing audience, great people. Share it with friends, colleagues, neighbors, enemies, frenemies, whatever you want to do. But we do this every day of the week, and this channel is stacked with a lot of content, morning, middle of the day, and at night. So let's get started. And looking here with Chris Lee. Chris is going to jump in here with us. And Chris, Monday night I told you that Chris Lee, Clark Lee came down. He spells his name different than yours, L-E-A. I think he's got some relation to the manager or the coach of the Sewanee team from 1899. Oh. It's an unusual spelling on the name Lee. My middle name is Lee, named after my dad. But bottom line, he was really impressive. And the Vanderbilt fans, there were a ton. It was a run on the bank, ran out of food, ran out of seats. And that's a great problem to have. But talk about, and Clark Lee mentioned this, sustainability. You know, Javi is not going to play forever, but the future, if Vanderbilt keeps doing what they're doing, I think is very bright.
Yeah, I mean, those are some big ifs there, but I think one of my bigger takeaways is that, and you're seeing this at other places, Indiana being one of them, that the landscape has been brought back to the schools like Vanderbilt in Indiana. And that's not taking away from what those places did. They had to make intentional pivots with the right coaches and the right strategies. But I think more than anything, just the way the game has changed, it makes it possible, if nothing else.
Yeah. Well, he talked about the facilities at Vanderbilt and how far behind they are. But that's not unusual. We know how much money, when I started in the bond business in October of 91, Vanderbilt's endowment then was $3.2 billion. Vanderbilt University Medical Center. That's what I cut my teeth on selling bonds to that. It's over $12 billion now. We know about the Ingram gift in the mid 90s. There's so many of their alumni probably that have never been asked. Are you starting to see more people seek out Vanderbilt and saying, hey, I want to help?
That's what I've heard. Everything with Vanderbilt can be a little bit of urban legendish
myth
at times. Well, I mean, and there's still this thing where, and I've had personal experience, not in my immediate household, but dealing with somebody who's an addict. And sometimes they tell you the truth, and sometimes they tell you a very spun, lie that sounds true and isn't. And so I always try to sort through that. Like, what I have heard is that you've got people coming out of the woodwork that are extremely wealthy, that weren't even on the school or the athletic department's radar, with willing to give to football, excited about where it is. But then you'll hear things like, well, maybe support staff is budgets are an issue. And I'm not reporting. I'm just, you sort through things. You listen for rumors. You try to find out truth. And like at a place like Vanderbilt, that's tougher to get at than anywhere else. Yeah. So there's always this claim that, they've got more money than money's not going to be an issue. And then you see things that happen. And then you see like the facilities that he's wanting now were promised to him back in 2020 when he took the job. Now, NIL has changed the landscape and stuff, but there's still a lot of undelivered promises. That's a lot of words, but my point is that I think there's some truth to both camps, but I don't know where it settles. And the school is always operated in a way that they're going to control things and go to great lengths to control things. And if they want the money to go somewhere else other than football, then that's historically what it does, but also it's changed. So that's a lot of directions it could go, but that's kind of your outline there.
Question from a friend of mine who watches every day over in Atlanta, Stephen Patrick Walsh, Vanderbilt graduate. Is Vanderbilt going to go after the backup quarterback at Notre Dame, who is a JP2 graduate? For those of you that don't know, that's John Paul II, St. John Paul II up in Hendersonville.
Yeah, which is where I'm from, not that high school, but I mean, the guy that they're focused in on is Jared Curtis, who's one of the top quarterbacks, one of the top players in the country. He's in their backyard, and depending on who Georgia feels confident it has him, Vanderbilt feels confident it has a shot. So we'll see where that settles, but we'll know here, I think, in a few weeks.
Jared Curtis at David Lipscomb?
No, he's at Nashville Christian.
Nashville, that's right.
Not a powerhouse football program, but like and I don't have a lot of time to watch high school ball, and I've seen so many kids that like were going to be the next big thing that weren't.
Yes.
So I don't spend a lot of bandwidth on that. I let other people do it, but I mean, people that have seen him have said stuff like he's a generational guy. He's the best football player ever to come out of Tennessee, things like that. We'll see.
Yeah, our friend Pete Cordelli, who's up in Nashville, I think he's working with quarterbacks, and Pete coached a long time at Notre Dame and with Lou Holtz at 14 years. Really knows that quarterback position. I think he's talked about Jared Curtis as a special, and that's out off the Harpeth River, isn't it? Near the Harpeth River, Nashville.
I'm not sure I've ever been to their campus, to be honest with you.
I've been there several times, and it's nice. And it's when you come in off of 96 in Franklin. It's
okay.
Beautiful.
You're thinking of BGA, aren't you?
No, BGA's right there in Franklin. Yeah, but
there's two campuses.
Yeah, okay, but there's so many schools up there. That's the point. But I've heard Jared Curtis is absolutely great and all, but I think you're right. Look at the quarterbacks in the preseason. I want to get your thoughts. You think about DJ Lagway, Garrett Nussmeier, Lenora Sellers, the guys that were getting all the attention. And Saturday night, Lagway and Nussmeier did not finish the game as the starting quarterback or the quarterback on the field. What are your takeaways from that?
Well, I said this before the season, that we have these very defined opinions of who the best quarterbacks are, right? But the thing that was interesting as you looked is most of them did not have a lengthy track record. I mean, Garrett Nussmeier was about as good as anybody in terms of track record. Like, he'd started an entire year at LSU. Yeah. And when they had first round tackles, it went really well. He doesn't have that this year. Joey Aguilar probably has one of the longer track records of anybody if you go back different levels. But there weren't a lot of guys who had been I'm not sure there was anybody in there that had been a starter more than a full year in the SEC. Yeah. I think you're looking at Nussmeier and Pavia, and I may be forgetting somebody that was at the top of the list. Like Ty Simpson had probably been in the league longer than anybody, but he'd been a backup. And so you just had this really interesting set of circumstances where you had the guys that were thought to be the most talented, Lagway, Arch Manning, didn't have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
Lenore Sellers got all this one hype for the draft based on a, pretty good 3/4 of a season. And I just said, hey, it's going to be interesting to see what this looks like at the end of the season. And like you said, the guys that were on top going in are the guys that are getting benched and we have questions about to a large degree.
Yeah, let's listen to what Clark Lee, I asked him a question about roster and the process at Vanderbilt from Monday night. Coach Lee, talk about what you're doing at Vanderbilt, you and Barton Simmons, teammates from NBA, identifying players maybe that other people don't find, and then the development process, because it's a long one.
Yeah, we don't claim to have.
Hey, well, let me cue this on the other side. Sorry, because it's all goofy. But
sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, but I tell you, Clark's father was there. He's a doctor. Went to medical school at UT. I didn't realize Clark's dad was from Memphis. Went to Snowden Elementary and UT Medical, and Dr. Alan Ruhlman, a friend of mine, great duck hunter. Love that guy. Him and his brother Mark. But there's a lot. I didn't realize how many connections there are. You just don't realize how many Vanderbilt people there are that have been starved for this success. And I tell you what, Clark Lee was really good in the Q&A with Harold Grader up on the stage. He doesn't hold back in his assessment and his stories about what he has been through. And I know from talking with you, he does not want this to stop.
No, and first of all, I really like that family. Like it might have been even the first year I started doing this. I covered Clark as a player.
Yeah.
Oh, and I would go to practice. I'd be the only guy there from the media. And a lot of times I would be sitting with his dad on right next to the field, and we would just chat. His dad's just a wonderful, nice, salt of the earth human being. And he goes a lot of places Clark goes to. He's got an office. He still practices. You could walk, I think, to campus.
It's across the street, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, I think one of the cool things in sports is you root for people you like.
Yeah.
And I like both of them. But I'm glad that he's speaking out. I think Clark at first tread lightly. And I think as you get some capital at Vanderbilt, which certainly he's got right now. Yeah. And I was on the field before the game and saw a couple of his support staff guys that I know, one who play, and I said, "Hey, look, man, you guys have to push while you can, because you don't get that opportunity a lot." And he's spoken out a little bit more about this stuff isn't what we need. We need better this and that, and you have to when you were in that spot. And I think that's the reason the contract's not done yet, from what I'm hearing. And again, who knows? Yeah. I don't think it's a money thing with him. I think it's the other stuff we need to succeed. And like at Vanderbilt, sometimes that's pulling teeth to get it. Yeah. So I'm going to be very interested to see where that settles and what stuff they're willing to be forward facing about in terms of what they're going to give him.
Yeah. Yeah. And Brendan, just tell us when it's ready and we'll pop it up. But one thing, again, Clark Lee talked about facilities and what they got. He said just a few years ago, he said it was a bad season. And I told him, I said, if we don't get at least $3 million, we're not going to have a program. And he got that 3, became 6, and became more. So you're seeing that. And then Barton Simmons, how important he is. I remember 4 years ago, I said, watch Vanderbilt. They will have success. I'll tell you who we met. We met Molly.
Coach Lee, talk about what you're doing.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Coach Lee will come when he can. But
you and Barton Simmons, teammates from NBA, identifying players maybe that other people don't find, and then the development process, because it's a long one.
Yeah, we don't claim to have the secret sauce or see film that other people don't see, but we're looking for very specific measurable traits, and then personality characteristics too that we think blend together to make a guy that can be developed in systems. We want to see someone who's going to be resilient, who's going to show grit along the way, who's going to be able to handle failure, because that comes too. And then like everyone else, we want to see length and speed and a frame that we can build out. But Barton's become such an incredible asset for us. And as I've grown in my role, he's grown in his as well. And that's really what's put us in a position here where we're having success.
Yeah, and you know what, Chris? I met Molly, his right-hand assistant director of football operations, and Nick Valdesari, grandson of legendary Notre Dame SID, Roger Valdesari. And you can see Clark Lee as a planner. And, you know, I'm with you. I think he went to MBA. He's home. How often do you get to do it? And your dad's office is across the street, basically, from the football camp. But getting money, it seems like, I know we're under time constraints, but getting money at Vanderbilt, if you're the football coach, is like when Uncle Jed wanted to go get money at the bank from Mr. Drysdale. It was very difficult. Even though he had $85 million in the bank, he didn't want him to have any of that money.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a weird situation. I mean, I think I may have said this on your show before. It took me until about year 17 or 18 to really figure out how stuff works over there, because it's sort of a I hate to use the term, but this is the term people have used. It's like a deep state over there. You don't really know who is in charge, who's making decisions. Yeah. They're not forthcoming. They've got their own agendas. And like you're trying to, and being a private school, you can't FOIA things and all that like you can every other school in the SEC. But it's very interesting once you learn how things work, who sets the agenda, whether those people are for or against sports, the links you have to go to in run that or to try to work with it. I mean, it's and when you talk about it, people don't believe you, and like telling the truth, we'll get your, oddly enough, we'll get your credibility question on this beat. But there's a lot of people that think they know how it works, and they just don't, but they think they do. It's a weird place.
Yeah, it is. And they want to keep it going. So looking around before you go, let people know, of course, how they can follow you, but your assessment on how many teams you think the SEC is going to get into the CFP, and the Athletics, right? Why is Indiana ahead of Texas A&M? That is going to matter potentially for seeding if you get a home game or you're a road team.
Yeah, I would flip those two teams right now, A&M and Indiana, but it's close. I mean, Indiana does have some better wins than I think people realize.
Yeah.
But, I mean, top three are pretty – I'm guessing that the SEC ends up getting 5.
Wow.
And I think what will be really interesting, a 9-3 Texas with probably better top-end wins versus a 10-2 Vanderbilt, with Texas having the head-to-head. Now, that was home, and everybody knows about the last minute. Vanderbilt had a shot to win it and then didn't. I think how the committee sorts through that, if that's where it ends up, is going to be very interesting.
There will be riots in the streets, and Nashville will go. I think it'll be incredible if Vanderbilt makes the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I think that national TV ratings, just the interest, because it's such a difference, and we're having to think outside the box for sure. So, Chris, I know you got another show to go to. Let them know how they can follow you, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, Southeastern 16 for all the SEC stuff. We're a YouTube channel with also podcast feeds where you get them. We cover SEC football, baseball, and basketball year-round. I'm about to hop to a basketball show in a minute for that, to talk Kentucky, Louisville, and all the other stuff. And then we will run Vandy 24/7, that website, and also a podcast and YouTube channel associated with that. So that's where you can find me.
Man, ton of respect for you, man. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you.
All righty. We're hoping they're going to have Heath Cline on here with us. Here's Heath, and Heath over in Atlanta from the Chuck Oliver Show. Heath, if you can turn the camera on, I know you're on the phone link, but can you hear me? Yeah. Well, we'll try to work through that. But Brendan, I did not watch the playoff rankings show last night. I mean, we pop the rankings up if we get a chance just to look at them, but it is going to matter at some point about seeding. But keep in mind, last year all 4 Power 4 conference champions were one and done in the first round. So, hey, who better than Heath Cline? Listen to y'all every day, you and Chuck. Absolutely love it. Are you from Florida grad, from Colorado? Spent a lot of time in Colorado, but man, you get around and see a lot of football. But folks, do yourself a treat. 11 to 1 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. It is like nothing else on the airwaves when it comes to covering college football. It's nonstop. I love it. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Rob, how you doing, man?
Doing good. Did you watch those rankings last night?
I didn't. I never watch that show unless it's the final show, just out of principle. I know people do. It's so stupid. It's a puppet show. It's a waste of time. I don't knock you if you did. For me, all I need to know, I can find out. And so what do I see? Mac Rhodes, a week after he said something about the Georgia Tech game that strongly implied that he had no idea what happened in the game, repeated the same stupid thing. So, no, I saw ratings later, but I'd never watch it live. You shouldn't either, unless you just like watching people talk in circles and lie.
You can watch C-SPAN and do that too. It's the same thing. I'm with you. Heath, you're right there in Atlanta, which is in the middle of everywhere. It's the largest college football market in America. There's 6.5, 7 million people spread out over 22 counties. But your show, 71 sticks, as Chuck says, in 9 states. Dabo Swinney, Could you see him in the SEC in a year or two, just saying, Clemson, I love you, but we just can't stay married anymore?
I mean, I guess anything's possible, but Clemson's going to fire Dabo unless Dabo at some point just absolutely forces them to do it. And right now, look, if you had an SEC job, let's just say that Dabo Swinney just Clemson Dabo shook hands and said, "Hey man, it's been wonderful, but we need something else. We both know it, so Dabo's free." What you're an SEC school hire Dabo right now, knowing that you're going to probably have to put out a whole bunch of bread? What would lead you to say, I think the guy that could win here at Arkansas is Dabo? X's and O's? Certainly not.
Yeah.
It never has been X's and O's with him. So, yeah, I mean, there's success, there's national titles. We all know the resume. But if the question is, how do you win in the SEC in 2026? What would lead you to say the answer to that is Dabo Swinney right now at the price you'd have to pay? I can't say it'll never happen, but for him to do the things that he would need to do to make it make sense to happen, I feel like if he'd do that, he'd just stay at Clemson and actually do it.
Yeah. All right. Looking around, SEC, ACC. SEC is hoping to get as many as 5 teams in the college football playoff. ACC, there's a possible scenario where they don't get anybody in. What in the world is going through Jim Phillips' mind, the commissioner of the ACC? I as an SEC guy, I always say the ACC is our first cousins, but I would hate to see the season Georgia Tech's having just be in vain.
Well, I mean, you think about last year. I mean, they had Clemson get in and only get in by the skin of their teeth as the champion. So the committee chose to give the benefit of the doubt to an SMU team that, frankly, once we saw what they did in the playoff, didn't give you a lot of reason for them to have actually had that benefit of the doubt. So you could have had a weird situation last year if something like this had been playing out. But you've got a deal where right now, I mean, your premier programs are not your premier programs. Miami is supposed to be every single year. Oh, here they come here. The U's back. Here come the Canes. Well, you know what they've done. As long as you're counting on Mario Cristobal winning games in November, you're asking for trouble. And that's what Miami chooses to do. Likewise, if you look right now, FSU, except for the one big year with Mike Norvell, FSU feels like they're a lot closer to what they are this year than what the 1 year, 2 years ago said they were. And Clemson, look, you just brought him up. It's up to Dabo. Dabo has to decide, does he want to actually modernize and get with football in the mid-20s, or does Dabo want to keep talking about how great it was in the 2010s? He has a choice. He cannot do both. I think people over at Clemson and his pride are going to finally force him to make some meaningful changes. But even then, that doesn't mean that he'll get it right. Think about Dabo. Think about how little interspersing he's done with college football. So when he goes to hire somebody, he goes out and he hires Garrett Riley. That hire hasn't worked. So if Dabo goes and looks for an OC, will he hire the right one? If Dabo finally decides, I've got to address the secondary, which I think pretty clearly is going to happen, will he hire the right secondary coaches? Is working for Dabo perceived as a good thing? And most importantly, will he finally get in the portal for real? Great. You took 3 kids this year. Everybody else is taking a whole lot more. And it does not, he views it as like almost a moral personal failing to take kids out of the portal. It's not. No one is saying become 30 portal a year guy, flip your roster every year, have no culture. No one's ever said that. But look at the way Kirby Smart uses the portal. Kirby Smart selectively said, I have an issue. I don't have a game-breaking wide receiver. I don't have one on the roster. I don't see one that has experience that could be one. I need to go address that. And so he brings in a guy like Zachariah Branch. He didn't go crazy and sign 20 dudes in the portal. He just signed the right ones. Dabo has voluntarily chosen to say, yeah, I could fix 9 spots that need a little help, but I'm not going to because we don't do that here. Well, okay. And you also don't win here either. Not like you used to. Yeah. So will Dabo finally fix it? But this is what you get when your premier comes for different reasons, whether it's a coach that won't change, or a coach that's just too inconsistent. when this is what you got for your premier programs, you can't count on having. The SEC could have that year. The SEC could have Kirby Smart and LSU have a year like this year, and Bama spin out too, and have Texas A&M rise up and do what they're doing this season. The ACC doesn't really have that after them. They just don't. I mean, Georgia Tech's having a really great year. Louisville's having a nice year. But they don't have anybody they can count on to say that team will get us 10 wins and for sure be in the playoff if these three teams don't do it.
Yeah, and you look at the year Virginia's been having with Tony Elliott. They lose at home to Wake Forest, and Wake Forest is just a hell of a story, what they're doing. And then you look at Louisville loses at home. Jeff Brom is, I think, one of the best coaches. He won big at Purdue. He wins everywhere he goes. All right, let's switch across the river to the SEC. LSU, Auburn, Arkansas, Florida, all have job openings. Which of those you think is the one that is most likely to have a simple path to getting a really good coach versus, say, all the chaos being a distraction and a problem?
Well, that's a great question. I think the path is there for Auburn to do it, but it's Auburn, so you know the history of Auburn just like I do.
Yes.
Will they take what looks like the 2-inch putt? What looks to me like the 2-inch putt is John Sumrall. John Sumrall, the background in the state from his family background, his wife's family background, coached at Troy, very familiar with the SEC. That seems like a really obvious good fit. Will they take that fit, or will they insist, oh, we're hiring a coach from someplace like Tulane, we can do better, and spend time chasing whoever, whether that's Lane, whether that's James Franklin, whoever it might be? Do they just focus on it? What you mentioned, the hire I always think about with this is Mark Stoops. Go back and look. There were 4 SEC jobs open the year that Kentucky hired Mark Stoops. Mark Stoops hadn't come up for any other job at all. He was defensive coordinator at FSU, and he was doing fine. But other than the last name, there was nothing particularly distinctive to people about Mark Stoops. But Kentucky, correctly, as it turned out, said, you know what? We can get our guy. We're not going to win a battle prestige-wise with some of these other programs or wallet-wise with some other programs. Mm-hmm. But we think Mark Stoops makes sense for us. He's from his plan of I'm going to get up into Big Ten country and I'm going to get a lot of players from there that Kentucky will be the closest SEC program to. And I've got the recruiting connections into Ohio and Pennsylvania to do that. That plan really worked for them. And I'm not going to tell you I think Mark Stoops is the best coach ever. But I think Mark Stoops, for what Kentucky hired and the hiring that they were in, he didn't get near as much attention as, whoa, Fred, wow, look at Arkansas taking a big shot away. Yeah. But it was a much better choice. So if Auburn wants to do that, if Auburn wants to say, you know what, the best us in this year especially looks on take it, then I thought you're good as mine as them.
Yeah. And that is that. I think John Sumrall, I went to the Tulane-Memphis game Friday night, sat right behind Sumrall on the 10-yard line, row 40. Watched him and Ryan Silverfield, hour and a half before the game the whole time. They're doing what coaches are supposed to do. They're talking to every player, position group. They're coaching. They're both, 44 years old, cerebral, and nobody is going to outwork them. If you get a text from Ryan Silverfield, it's 4:15, 4:30 in the morning. He's already in the office. All right, Heath, I know you got a busy day ahead of you. Absolutely love what you do. I either listen live back and forth to Memphis or when I'm riding or walking the dogs. The podcast is it's high energy and it's just bam, bam, bam. And we need to come up with Heathisms and Chuckisms because y'all have some of the funniest stuff and descriptions of what's going on. But tell people how they can follow you, and I'd love to have you on again anytime you're available.
Sure. It's Heath Radio on Twitter. If you want to do it, and then I'll show over the show podcast. Where else there is, as far as I know. So yeah, we appreciate you.
All right, thank you so much. We'll see you then. All right, let's get moving to Dudley Dawson inside Arkansas. Dudley, let me tell you something. Oh man, there we go. Already got the Christmas tree up. I'll admit.
There's already got, I think we've got 4 or 5 Christmas trees up here. that one back there is the sports tree with all the things. The puppy's already been taking the football off of it and running with it. So
there you go. Well, I one time when I was single with the kids before I remarried, left the Christmas tree up until July 31st. That's the record. I mean, so no, if anybody watching this show can beat that. Send your chats in, your comments in on the chat room. But Dudley, man, we had Houston Nutt on the show Friday. That was just awesome. Now, that guy, again, if you were going to Hayes City, you know what Hayes City's significance is. That's where they did the hangings on Gunsmoke. If you were going up to Hayes City, he'd be a good guy to have going with you. You're going to like it. It's going to be good. I love that. I love that guy. My wife goes, he may be my favorite guest you have. And talking about getting the band back together, what's going on at Arkansas? You got to get people that understand Arkansas that get it. Tim Horton, Houston Nutt, you understand it, but you're a journalist, and I'm going to, I guess, compartmentalize things here. You're not a fan. You're a true grit journalist. You don't traffic in rumors. What are you hearing about the coaching search up there? What the next move is for Arkansas, and why say no to Houston Nutt coming up there to be the head of fundraising for the Razor's Edge NIL Collective when it's so easy to say yes?
Well,
I threw a lot at you.
Yeah, I don't know why you'd say no to Houston Nutt. He did transfer. Some people will bring that up, but he's been pretty much all Arkansas his entire life.
Yes.
He has a passion for the university. He should have copyrighted that. There's only one Razorback thing. He would have much more money even now. But as far as the coaching search going on up here, you can find several different avenues that you want to go down if you want to try. As I've often said, and you repeat, I don't traffic in rumors, but boy, James Franklin is right there. They've got all the money for him. There's going to get a coach from the group of five, and that's why Dudley's watching them Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Studying everybody. I think that you're looking at something here that is clearly a decision will come before the end of the season, but not this week, maybe not next week. That week of the Missouri game when Arkansas plays on the 29th, you really have to have a decision made or a direction plotted, because December 3rd through 5th is the high school signing date. And also Arkansas clearly in the last couple of weeks has turned its attention to junior college recruiting, which is kind of a throwback thing where they, I think they've offered close to 10 junior college kids in the last couple of weeks. There are always these number one or number two defensive back, number one or number two edge rusher. They clearly, this staff is recruiting as if it's going to be here. And then the selection committee or whoever is really pulling the trigger here is recruiting as if the somebody else is going to be here. Everybody's dotting their I's and crossing their T's, and we're going to know something sooner than later.
I'll tell you who is watching right now. He watches every day. I love it. He's one of my coaches and mentors, Coach Max Howell. I would say he was the king of the junior colleges, keeping us up with all that stuff. Mississippi's got 17 of them, and they're a good place to still go. We know about Last Chance U in Scuba, Mississippi on Highway 45, and I call the road the land that time forgot. That's the old way we took to the beach. That's the way I still take to Orange Beach. But you got to have places you can go to. They don't have any in Arkansas.
No, 28 today, at Arkansas Baptist, which they got going. Fitzhill was a part of getting that going. Former assistant here, but junior college recruiting is a little different these days. Power 4, Power 5 schools back in 2018, there were 180 athletes that signed out of junior college. Last year there was 40. So that kind of tells you, how the transfer portal has kind of delved into that. But Arkansas clearly has made, at least the staff that is here right now, has clearly made a move in that they, on that December 35th signing period, are going to go get somebody that can be here in January and they can work with. You cannot mess around and not have enough people in here.
Yeah, and let's bring in Vince Ferrara from the Sports Animal 99.1 up in Knoxville, Tennessee, on the hill. Vince, recovering from hip surgery, looking good. I hope you're feeling good. You always sound great. And by the way, that junior college, those numbers, it doesn't count against your college, regular college, if you were in junior college. That's why some of these guys are in their mid and up in late 20s still playing college football. So junior college, that's basically like prep school now, like Tennessee Military Institute. So, it's interesting. Vince, Knoxville, you got this weekend. Tennessee has, it's a non-conference game, but Tennessee still has Florida, and they got to play in Gainesville, and they've got Vanderbilt on the last game of the season. What's the temperature in the fan room up in Knoxville at this point?
Yeah, appreciate it. Awesome to be on with you guys. I'm glad you clarified after you said temperature, because I'm not crazy about these cold temps we've been getting in reality outside, but it's starting to go in the right direction. It'll be up in the 70s by Saturday's game day with the Aggies in New Mexico State. But really, you're not going to learn much this Saturday from what Tennessee was able to improve on, if anything, coming off of the loss to Oklahoma that, in all intents and purposes, has eliminated them from any sort of chance to make the college football playoff, unrealistic at 3 losses. And then, what they may have improved in the open week. And then, just playing another game. We're not going to know until they play Florida. And then you look at, Florida, how terrible they were against Kentucky. They've had some awful performances this year. They've also had some spike up performances, and Tennessee fans have seen it, been there, done that. They haven't won in Gainesville for 22 years, since 2003. They've had guys that hadn't played quarterback before play quarterback and beat Tennessee. They've won in Neyland. They've won in Gainesville. Average to below average Florida teams have risen up and beaten Tennessee and played well against Tennessee. It doesn't mean that they've also haven't beaten the Gators, at different times over the last 22 years, but it's only been at Neyland, and you expect the Gators to come together for that game. So it's going to be tough. And then Vanderbilt obviously is a much different animal than what fans' perception of the Commodores typically is. And maybe for some, they still can't register that this is a team that's in contention for the college football playoff. If Vanderbilt gets to that spot with just 2 losses, it would be a crazy storyline. Tennessee could ruin the playoff chances of Vanderbilt. Like, when does that happen? Who had that on their bingo card? But
nobody.
Certainly could be the reality of it, and and it won't be easy for sure, because Tennessee's had tackling issues, and Diego Pavia, as we all know, is very difficult to tackle.
Yeah, he really is, and that's something Clark Lee said Monday at the Touchdown Club in Memphis about, what is he, 25? He goes, and he wears a cape. He goes, I'm gonna say this, make a statement. I do think I have not seen a single player mean so much to one team since Cam Newton 2010 Auburn National Champions as Diego Pavia means to this Vanderbilt team. He's an elevator, Dave Bartu's term. He makes everybody around him play better. Love the headsets and the mic. Man, it's like 2 broadcasters. By the way, saw something on YouTube the other day. Rest in peace. It was commemorating, it would have been the 95th birthday of one of the greatest sports play-by-play guys on TV, Charlie Jones. You know where he was from? Fort Smith, Arkansas. I didn't know that.
Yep.
God, look at Frank Broyles, Pat Summerall. And we're never going to get better than Tom Brookshire and Pat Summerall up in the booth, maybe a little liquored up, but you know what? They didn't miss a beat. And I'm sorry, but those guys were better than a lot of the stuff we have today with drones in there.
Hey, I started baseball with Harry Carey. I thought that was how it's supposed to work.
That's right.
We can continue on Mike Shannon's others, so
There we go. Dudley, getting us in the Christmas spirit. I love the Christmas tree there. I mean, 5 of them in the house, Vince. Let's talk, Dudley, about Arkansas, what they're playing for at this point. And again, you got search committees going on, and hit the button if your school at some point this year's fan base hasn't said, we need to move on from this coach. We really collectively have gone insane as fans. Is that Jimmy Sexton's fault because we look at how much these coaches are paid? What is it?
Jimmy Sexton is just good at his job. I mean,
yeah, he's great at it.
And that's why fan bases don't like him. But, I don't think I should say that Arkansas is not playing for a damn thing. there's not a lot out there that, you pride and all that. With 3 games left, you still have to, you're still basically, now there's a real focus on what you're doing, because when the transfer portal comes around, people are going to look back at tape on what you did, during this time. Where did you, let go of the rope? Speaking of Houston Dale Nut isms, there's not a lot to I guess, break the losing streak, get a big win against your so-called 3 rivals, which are these last 3 games. If we're just going to be honest, there's not a lot to play out there for other than just pride and put something on tape.
Yeah, and for the new coaches when they come in, Vince, Tennessee, and it's crazy. You do hear this, people, is Heupel in trouble? I'm like, man, if the Georgia game is a win for Tennessee, I think they play differently against Alabama and everybody else the rest of the season. People forget you may win a game and the next week be really flat. You shouldn't be, but your records, that's why it means so much when you say your record is what it is. But Tennessee's defense this year, it's not like it normally is. Where do you start with how you fix it or what the problems are?
Yeah, it is so strange. Look, you start with players missing, especially your starting corners, and Jermon McCoy and Ricky Gibson III. And Tim Banks even said it yesterday, defensive coordinator, that he was poised to have a monster year this year. And that's to go along with an already All-American in Jermon McCoy. And you thought, maybe a few games into the season you get McCoy, and it's just taken longer. And he hasn't come back yet. There was some thought that maybe after this open week, maybe this is the week, but fans have been hearing it all year. And it changes how Tim Banks calls his defense. He doesn't trust guys in man. He won't do as many exotic blitzes. He runs more zone defense, which is where Tennessee has been the most susceptible in their pass defense. In games early in the year, like Georgia, they were giving up a ton of yards, but then they would get key turnovers and sack the quarterback and have game-changing plays to be able to win high-scoring games. And now they've gotten a little bit better in terms of limiting yards. Only give up 99 yards in the first half to Oklahoma and John Mateer, but they weren't as good in the second half. And then they didn't have the sacks and the turnovers. So it's been a one game, one thing, one game, the other. Just a huge drop off in the tackling. Josh Heupel said they tweaked some things in how they prepared in terms of tackling this week. Just not up to standards. Guys that normally are good tacklers have not been. And they're relying on more young players, and some of those guys aren't ready to go. So just how far they've dropped back defensively has been very surprising to me. And because of that, they haven't been able to take advantage of, overall an offense that was better than I think maybe even anticipated, especially with the pass game.
Yeah. And looking at Tim Banks has done such a good job, and Rodney Garner's defensive line as well. It's just not normal. Love that hoodie that you got, man. I didn't get one of those for the wife. Is that a sports animal hoodie?
It is. They let us pick a few things out of a catalog a couple times a year. So this is a few years old. This is really comfortable with our older logos. But yeah, it's fun. It's nice.
I thought it was a great graphic when you asked him what was wrong with Tennessee here, and he had a list. It looked like
So how much time you got?
He did. He looked like some guy giving a speech going, I have a few prepared remarks here.
It's like a CVS receipt,
Yeah.
That's all the things listed. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and again, it is tough because, Tennessee's – the fan base is just unbelievable. And these fan bases throughout the SEC and across the nation in college football, look at Auburn, 18 straight sellouts they're on the worst 5-year run of football at Auburn since post-World War II. And that ain't nothing to say that you're packing them in. And Arkansas, I never leave a game early. If you expect the team to play the full 60, you got to stay the full 60. I've always believed that. Dudley, Let's look at here right now. Hunter Yurachek is currently the athletic director at Arkansas. I've seen him at Touchdown Club, different things. I want someone in there that says, absolutely we can win national championships here. I wouldn't take this job if I didn't believe that. His comments at the Touchdown Club in Little Rock. Oh, there, look at that hound. There we go. Is that Daphne?
It's Daphne.
Yeah, we got a Daphne too. Yeah, there you go. That's awesome. Look at that dog. But talk about the temperature among the Arkansas faithful when it comes to Hunter Yurachek, those comments. And do you want him picking your next football coach? Maybe he's going to go pick someone that he thinks can win a national championship. Is that what this is all about?
Well, being objective about this, if you look at the overall athletic program that he's, been involved with since he came along, I mean, they, in all these rankings, they've done a really good job at having an overall athletic program. But in football, the hiring of Sam Pittman, which was, a situation where they offered the job to a lot of people. It fell to him. He did a good job in resurrecting the program from the Chad Morris era. But, it got to where it just wasn't winning enough. And I think that, he's tasked or tagged with that. And there are a lot of people who just care about football or who care about football most that are ready to move on from Hunter Yurachek. So you could take an objective viewpoint or you could take the perception of things that what most people think, and that's about football. Now, they're going to hire a coach. I keep hearing different things about how involved the athletic director is, how involved the chancellor is, all that. I am anxious for them to pull the trigger like everybody else because I just want to move on. And, I have a podcast about recruiting, and, you can only ask so many questions to the recruits that Arkansas has. But so you're sitting around and with the uncertainty, like the rest of us all, what are you going to do when they name a coach? Well, when are they going to name a coach? They're waiting around just like that. So, I am not going to sit here and trash Hunter Yurachek like most have, but I do get the acrimony and the angst that the fan base has. They could lose 10, they could win the first two and lose 10 in a row. And it's, that's just not acceptable. I don't care where you're at, who you are, what resources you have and all that. And we all know that he, whether he misstepped, misquoted, he missed something when he was at the Little Rock Touchdown Club and talked about them not being able to win championships. I don't care if you know that, you mean that, you shouldn't say that.
Yeah, you never should. It's like telling your kids that you don't believe in them. I think about when you turn 16, how fast do your parents let you drive the car or you get your own car or whatever? That's a vote of confidence, as Maury Gaston always reminds me. Vince, you got comments on what Dudley just said. I think Dudley just made some really salient points.
Yeah, I do want a quick follow-up for Dudley because I was looking through Arkansas hot board coaching list. And Dudley, I wonder when you see these lists and there's like 20, 25 names on this list, how many do you look at and say, no, that's unrealistic. This isn't happening. This isn't happening. How far off the reality do you think some of these names that are on those hot board coaching candidate list are just not a factor, do you think?
I would say that if there's 25 on your hot list, I would say that there are probably 7 to 9 that are realistic. I think there's a wish list from the fans, a realistic list from the searching committee, and then there's a group of fans out there who are so paranoid and so gun shy that they're going to get the same thing. They thought they had Lane Kiffin here at one point, and then Sexton went back to Ole Miss and they got a better offer. There were a lot of people that got raises. There already are a lot of people getting raises out of just the pure mention of maybe they might be going to Arkansas. Rhett Lashley being one. He's a guy I consider a friend because I watched him grow up. But I think there's just a small amount that are. I do now. Here, we talk about adult trafficking rumors. I do think that you have a small, legitimate list, and I do think Arkansas has gotten the money together to make a run at anybody they want to. And James Franklin, obviously, that is a legit thing. I didn't know at first, but I've talked to enough people. I think that's a legit thing. He's going to have to turn them down. Then there, the group of 5 guys that have all been mentioned. I think that there's a lot of them that are going to be very good coaches that are going to all move to different places.
Yeah.
That are all going to get big raises, and all of them would be really good coaches here because they have proven as a head coach at different places, and also most of those guys have been assistants under great coaches as well. And I think there's a benefit to that. And then I think there's flyers. I think there's a couple of guys like PJ Fleck at Minnesota. There's maybe an NFL coordinator here or there. An offensive coordinator. I do not think they will go out and hire somebody that hadn't been a head coach because of what has happened this last time with Coach Pittman. But I think, as you said, there's like 25 names on that list, and all but about 7 to 9 of them, I can just go whatever.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I've heard sometimes people have 30 or 40 that most of them they have no intention of hiring, but they want to pick their brains, and you may stumble across somebody in that process. But Vince, I would say search committees, get people involved that really know football. We got about 5 minutes to go. I want to ask both of y'all right now, SEC compared to ACC, Big 12, Big 10, the American. I watched Tulane and Memphis play the other night. There are good football teams all over the place when you take a look at it realistically, which is, well, I'm never realistic. I just say what I believe. Does the SEC look like they're going to get 4 or 5 in to you, Vince? And then I'll ask Dudley.
Yeah, I do think so. And just another caution for people, don't be so quick to share what you see on social media. I don't know if you guys saw it a couple of days ago, this fake Greg Sankey quote that was out there saying they should have 8 teams in or whatever it was. I mean, gosh, just slow down. I automatically assume what I see is wrong, and then I have to investigate it and find it from multiple, reliable outlets. And even some of those sometimes get baited in and share it. So think it's false first until you know for sure it's true. But I think 5 is a good number. And even the top team on the outside looking in is an SEC team in Oklahoma. They're going to lead the way. I think you will see 5, just a matter of which 5.
Yeah. John Mateer's Hand, the new sports bar and grill in Norman, Oklahoma. It's going to be a big one. I will say this. If it's too good to be true, it's not. It's just too good to be free. I'll say when it comes to AI, if it's too good to be true, it's not. It's probably AI. And that's people better. And Brendan is an AI-ologist. I just wanted to throw that in. And he can add.
Brendan's not real?
No. He can. Brendan is definitely real. But Brendan is very good at pointing out when you see these ridiculous statements on social media, like, you got to be kidding me. No, it's AI. Remember, is it live or is it Memorex?
I have to be Rob's filter.
Hey, I do like the AI generated press conferences from coaches after what we really wish they would have said instead of what they do say.
I like the dad press conferences after they've worked with the kids. It's like, yeah, we had a rough day out there. I was short a water bottle. It's a tough day on the field. We had back-to-back soccer games.
Recreational golfer. I was going to play 36, but the wife, I went out. She said, "You're playing 18, and that's it." And I went out there and I walked the course and just did what I could.
Well,
I'm going to start doing post-game press conferences for this show. Had a rough show today. Robbed up the satellite.
Yeah, dog tripped over the Ethernet wire, which that's why I take the leash off of Daphne is bad about that. The cat, Matt, the cat will eat the wire. That's why he stays in a cage or outside. But, all right, guys, one thing we know, SEC's got – there's still a lot of storylines going here in the last few games of the year. And I think that coaching searches, Dudley, anything you got, let us know. We'll get you on whatever in the coaching search at Arkansas. Vince, glad to see you back up and running. You're back at work now, and I love the headsets and the mic. You've never sounded better. You and Dudley both. It's Charlie Jones and Kurt Gowdy.
I've proven that you can do this show on hydrocodone. I had the knee replacement last Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like I haven't said anything too bad today. Yeah.
Well, we have no kidding. There are no filters. As Jackie Sherrill. First time we had Jackie Sherrill on, he was.
I'll clip it and make a whole thing about it. Tag you and just ruin your career.
Jackie Sherrill, the first time he was on the show, was telling a story. And afterwards, he goes, "Did I say on the air?" I said, Coach, don't worry about it. Of course, my phone exploded. Did he say that? I'm like, yeah, it was great. Hey, look, guys, catch him. Vince Ferrara up on the Sports Animal in Knoxville. Vince Ferrara at Vince Sports, and Dudley Dawson. It's Dead Sports inside Arkansas. Two of the best true grit journalists you'll find anywhere. Guys, thank you more than you know for sharing your time with us. And we will do it again next week. Both of you recovering and in our prayers, all right?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You bet, man.
Well done.
All right. And, the takeaway, 25 guys on a search list and 7 to 9 of them are realistic. That's true. Let's say something about Hewlett and Dunn. Look over my shoulder here. The great sign built by J.M. Huffman. Man, he handmade that for me. Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company open Monday through Saturday, as they say in the South. That's 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Go out there on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. They've got everything, all the selection of Filson, men's and women's, Barber, jackets, luggage, boots, sweaters, you name it, duckhead. I've never seen more duckhead fashions in my life. They've got them all. They've got the Devil Dog jeans, STS, Pendleton, Schaefer, and again, over 7,000 pairs of men's and women's boots. But they also have the kids' boots. Get out there, get ahead of the crowd for the Christmas shopping. They've got what you want on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. And remember this, you can order from them anywhere in the world, hewlettanddunn.com. And what you'll find is service and people that know what they're doing. Charles Hall, the owner, his wife, Laura, Raven Carpenter, Lydia, JM, the whole crowd, Squidward, they're all there. The best place to shop to look the best you've ever looked. And they're right down the street from our good friends at LandersFordMemphis.com. They're open Monday through Saturday, not opened on Sundays, but 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Make it simple, folks. If you need a new truck, call Brad Bellamy. If you need a new Bronco, call Brad Bellamy, the GM at Landers Ford. Just make it simple. They'll take $500 off for SEC Sidelines audience members. And just remember, when you're worrying about buying a car, you're wasting your time. They'll walk you through the process. You can even get online and start the process before you make a call to them. But they got a huge inventory, Poplar and Houston Levy, everything you're looking for, Landers Ford. And remember, these Black Friday savings are coming up now, and the Ford Power Promise. It means a lot. And Rumble Boxing Gym, Union and McLean, Midtown Memphis. Do yourself a favor. Get out there, work out, open every day of the week, 5:30 in the morning. The classes are 45 minutes. You can put 48 people in there with elite instructors. Union and McLean in Midtown Memphis. How you fight is how you live. And hempforpros.com. You see the QR code. Also go to that website. The energy gummies work. They give you a lot of energy, but they also, they'll help you. You're not just hungry. That's what I noticed with them. The chill. Well, you chill. I can use that too. You also remember this, the lights out gummies. If you need help with sleep, take these about 30 minutes before you go night-night. They really work, okay? The bottom line is Dave Bartu and his staff, his team, they've been working with professional athletes, NFL players for a long damn time. And these gummies work. They've also got topical gels and lotions for pain relief. All real stuff made from hemp. It's natural. Go to the website, hempforpros.com. It's life-changing what they're selling and what they offer out there. Remember, 25% off Lights Out Sleep Gummies. Use promo code SIDELINES. Remember, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We're the most blessed people in the history of the world. Thank the people around you. For executive producer, the best in the world, Brendan Martin, I'm Rob Brown. Stay tuned to the channel. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.